Hello, I'm Michael Troy Moore. The titles I hold now are unimportant, but I'm about to tell you of the first time that I was informed of the pandemic of 2020, which was in the year 2000 in the month of November on the night of the presidential election. At that time, I held the title of Special Representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers. I was the direct assistant and right-hand man to then President Jack L. Lovell. Jack L. Lovell has an interesting history as a CIA asset. He was used by the Reagan administration as a cover as a union organizer to be sent down to give the bag money to the Contras during the Iran-Contra scandal. This was done because then President Bill Wynne was about to be indicted, and the Reagan administration leveraged the use of union organizers. The second organizer used along with Jack L. Lovell, his last name was Corey. That's just to give you some of the background. There is no long story short on this story, but I'll make it as short as possible because I know people just don't have the attention spans to listen to a 30 or 40 minute detailed story about what's going on. The main point here is the first time I was informed of the pandemic of 2020 was almost 20 years ago. And this was by somebody who was a bona fide CIA asset and a 33-degree Mason. On the night of the election between Gore and Bush, Jack and I were at Biba's restaurant in Sacramento, a place where politicians from the Capitol hang out. And there were those for Bush and for Gore. And Jack gave a good argument on why Gore actually had the experience to be president and Bush did not. This is immaterial to the story. But after that debate in those meetings and at those dinner tables, Jack and I were driving back to his home in Granite Bay near Folsom, California. Jack broke down and started explaining if Bush wins, the Bush faction, the Bush crime family as he called it, he says this country will take a turn in another direction. He went over about 19 things that would happen within the first term of a Bush administration and the second. All of those things have come to pass. And one of them was that we would have a terrorist false flag on U.S. soil. He didn't know to call it 9/11, but he called it what it was. It came to pass. The other things with the stock market and such were how it was going to hurt America in the long run. Now, one of the things he ended with that night was telling me more, which he always called me by my last name. He says, for your kids and your family, in the year 2020, there'll be a false flag pandemic operation worldwide. 3 months after that, most of the continental United States will be decimated by a nuclear attack, which wasn't from the Chinese, which wasn't from Russia, and was not launched by any terrorist organization. What is interesting about what he told me is at the time, I thought it was just an old man with too many triple stolies in his belly speaking. But I kept detailed records of everything when I worked for him. And that's almost 20 years ago he told me that story. Over the years, I've told friends and family and close associates about this story. But I almost somewhat forgot about it till I pulled my journals, and that was the night of the election in 2000. Jack L. Lovell, former president of the United Food and Commercial Workers, disclosed that there would be a false flag pandemic in 2020 and then some form of continental nuclear strike on the continental U.S. Stating this in this video doesn't get me any money. It doesn't get me any popularity. And quite frankly, it's not in my best interest. However, this was said to me almost 20 years ago. And with what I know about what's going on behind the scenes and the information I've been able to pick up, it's important to know that this was planned decades ago and is being carried out. Take this information, do what you want with it, and don't be mad at me for saying it because it happened. It was real. And for somebody who was that tied up in the government and the CIA to disclose that to me tells me the plan was on the books and the protocols to lock down America were in place. My opinion is that the nuclear war aspect had to do with people getting out of control, and it might even be launched by people within our own government. I hope and I pray that it's all wrong. I hope that the people in our U.S. Armed Forces and National Guard will not carry out unconstitutional orders against the people and will restore a constitutional republic. This is an act of treason on the American people. It's an act of war, and we're being deceived. This was planned. And this deception is enslaving every person in America without firing one shot. I would hope that all the armed militias around the country would organize and be prepared, not to attack the National Guard, but to defy the people who are trying to deceive us and overthrow America. Thank you.